There is a silence spreading through the world, quiet as falling snow, unnoticed as breath. A silence not of absence, but of surrender. Have you felt it? That slow letting go, that unspoken resignation that flickers behind the eyes of strangers in elevators, in checkout lines, in the glow of scrolling screens at midnight. Aldous Huxley once whispered of this invisible retreat, this quiet giving up. But who among us has truly stopped to listen? What happens to a society when its people no longer believe in the future, yet continue to move through the motions of living? When dreams are not shattered, but gently set down like heavy luggage on a journey too far to complete. We do not scream our surrender, we yawn it. We do not burn our hopes. We let them dissolve like sugar in lukewarm tea, and the world spins on undisturbed as if nothing of value has been lost. But something has been lost. Look closer at the man who wakes at the same hour, walks the same route, smiles the same empty smile. The woman who once painted galaxies in her notebooks, now counting likes instead of stars. The child who stopped asking why, because the answers were always later, or be practical, or that's just how things are. This is not burnout. This is not fatigue. This is the quiet death of something sacred, the part of us that believed we could bend the universe, even slightly, with our hunger. The Stoics warned of this centuries ago. They spoke of the unlived life, the existence where a man becomes a ghost in his own skin, not from tragedy, but from 1,000 tiny compromises. Seneca wrote letters about slaves who were freer than their masters because the masters had chained themselves to hollow ambitions. Epictetus, born in chains, taught that the body could be bound while the mind soared. But what of the man who binds himself, who surrenders not to the whip, but to the whisper that says, "This is all there is"? There is a story about a village at the edge of the world. Every year, the villagers would gather to lower a single rope into the abyss beyond the cliffs. No one remembered why. Some said their ancestors had heard a voice calling from below. Others said it was a test of faith. For generations they lowered the rope, and for generations it returned untouched. Until one year, a child asked, "What if we tied something to the rope?" The elders scoffed. "The ritual is the ritual," they said. But the child that night tied a bell to the rope's end. When they lowered it the next morning, the abyss rang back. We are the villagers, and our quiet giving up is the untied rope. What bell have you refused to tie? What voice might answer if you dared to shake the emptiness? The tragedy is not that we've given up. It's that we've done it so silently, so politely, that no one has come to mourn what we've lost. Not even ourselves. Consider the factory worker in 19th century England who smashed looms to protest stolen dignity. Now we swipe away notifications that steal our focus, our joy, our will to create, and call it unplugging. The rebellion has become a shrug. The revolution, a sigh. We've traded the language of upheaval for the dialect of disconnection. I'm just tired, we say, but it's not fatigue. It's grief for lives we feel but cannot name. The philosopher Camus spoke of Sisyphus happy, but what of Sisyphus bored? Sisyphus distracted? Sisyphus scrolling? The myth fails to account for the true horror, not the endless labor, but the moment the rock feels light because the muscles have forgotten their purpose. Ask yourself this: when did you last feel truly hungry? Not for food, not for distraction, but for the raw, terrifying thrill of a desire that might devour you. The quiet giving up begins when we mistake the absence of pain for peace, when we trade the fire of becoming for the safety of barely being. There is an experiment where flies, placed in a jar with no lid, refuse to escape after enough failed attempts. They learn the boundaries, even when the boundaries vanish. We are those fly, but the jar is made of our own assumptions. The lid was never locked, only remembered. Huxley's real warning wasn't about oppression, it was about sedation. The world doesn't need to crush us when it can convince us to lie down. And oh, how softly we've lain, how gently we've folded our wings. Yet, there is a crack in everything. Even in resignation, there are tremors, the hand that pauses before clicking, "Buy now." The hour before dawn when the mind whispers, "There must be more." The rage that flares when a stranger's laughter reminds you of a joy you've abandoned. These are the loose threads in the fabric of surrender. Pull one, and the whole tapestry might unravel. So I ask you, what is your loose thread? If you enjoy my videos and want to support the channel, consider getting my book, The Bias. Every purchase helps me keep creating meaningful content for you. The link is in the bio and description. Thank you for being part of this journey. The quiet giving up is not a verdict, it's a question. And the answer is written in the small rebellions we've yet to name. The notebook filled with poems no one will see. The business plan scribbled on a napkin. The way you hum an old song while washing dishes as if the act could resurrect the person who once believed in magic. The world hasn't noticed our surrender, but the universe has, and it waits, patient as stone, for us to notice it back. Like and subscribe if you've ever caught yourself in the act of quiet surrender and decided to untie the bell. Because here's the secret Huxley knew. The opposite of giving up isn't shouting, it's whispering to the part of you that still listens. And then, just maybe, letting that whisper become a roar. There is a mountain inside you, silent, immovable, waiting. Not the kind you climb with ropes and picks, but the kind you become when you stop running from your own depths. Have you felt it? That slow pressure beneath the ribs, the tectonic shift of unlived lives piling up like sedimentary rock. We spend our days scaling the wrong peaks, chasing promotions, likes, the hollow applause of a world that measures height but never depth. And all the while, the real mountain grows heavier. Unexplored caverns where forgotten dreams fossilize, ridges sharp with the edges of words you never spoke. The Zen masters say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. But what of the modern paralysis? The man who stares at the axe, paralyzed by the thought that the wood might be unworthy. The woman who hesitates at the well, wondering if her thirst is even real anymore. There is a story about a climber who spent years preparing to summit Everest. He trained his body, memorized the routes, invested in the finest gear. When he finally stood at base camp, he looked up at the icy face of the mountain and sat down. When his team asked why, he said, "I've been carrying this mountain in my chest since I was a boy. The real one is smaller." We mistake the weight of our potential for the weight of the world. The quiet giving up begins when we confuse the map for the territory, when we trade the messy, glorious work of self-excavation for the flat, pixelated comfort of curated lives. Your Instagram feed is a valley. Your untranslated heart is the peak. Which have you been worshiping? Nietzsche wrote, "No one can build you the bridge upon which you must cross the river of life. No one but you." Yet we wait for permits, for better weather, for someone to promise the bridge won't shake. Meanwhile, the mountain laughs in slow erosion. Ask yourself tonight, not in daylight's distractions, but in that raw hour between midnight and dawn, what avalanches are you suppressing? What seismic truths would surface if you stopped holding your breath? The Buddhists say suffering comes from desire, but perhaps the greater suffering comes from forgetting how to desire, from mistaking the numbness of acclamation for peace. Here's the paradox. The moment you stop running from the mountain inside is the moment it becomes a staircase. Each step, a former fear turned foothold. The cliffs you feared would kill you become the vantage points where you finally see. So tell me, what's at your summit? Not the dream you post about, but the one that hums in your marrow? The book? The rebellion? The love that terrifies you with its purity? Like and subscribe if you've ever felt the mountain stir, if you're ready to stop pathologizing your own depth. Because the world needs avalanches, needs the rumble of people remembering their size. The quiet giving up ends not with a manifesto, but with a single footfall, the sound of you choosing your own altitude. And the mountain, it's been waiting. The mountain doesn't care if you climb it. It simply is, unmoved by your fear, unimpressed by your excuses. It knows the truth, that you're not afraid of heights, but of the immense, unshakable version of yourself you'll meet at the summit. The one who no longer fits in the valleys where you've learned to kneel. So rise. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready. You'll never be ready, but now, with trembling hands and unsteady breath, the world needs your quaking ascent more than it needs your practiced stillness. The quiet giving up ends here. Climb,